It's time for another episode of Rainmaker for Contractors. Interviews and success stories with $1 million plus basement waterproofing and foundation repair owners. Discover how they market and grow their companies in today's economy. Hear directly from the most successful leaders in your industry. With your host and Rainmaker for Contractors owner, Bill Crawford.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Rainmaker for Contractors podcast. So appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and joining us. Today, we have Rob VanSuilichem. He is the owner of Everdry of Grand Rapids and Saginaw. He's also a longtime board member for the Better Business Bureau in Western Michigan. And he's got a great story for us today. Rob, welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to giving you whatever I can, any input I can help out with.
Awesome. Beautiful thing. Hey, let's jump in. Can you tell us a little bit about your company and what services you offer?
Yeah, well, we're Everdry Waterproofing. We offer basement repair services, crawl spaces. We do waterproofing, damage repair. We also do indoor air quality by ventilation. Two ways to get rid of water and mold, and that is ventilation and waterproofing, drainage. Get it away from your home.
You know, it kind of makes me think of a question that very much relates to that. In the eyes of the customer, how do you position yourself differently? There's a lot of waterproofers out there. Are you doing anything different, or do you have a unique story in some way?
Well, what we do that's a little different is we look into the day in the life of homeowners and what they're really looking to accomplish. A lot of companies that are out there do a little bit of everything. They do, gutters, they do concrete work, and then they throw in some waterproofing, and their focus is kind of across the board. What we do is we focus on your walls and your floor of your foundation to make sure that the structure is sound, make sure that your basement stays dry, you can finish it, have living space, and we also focus on the healthy environment. And when you have moisture, you also have the risk of mold growth. We address that. Waterproofing and ventilation is the key. And we're focused on just that. So creating healthy space in your basement or crawl space, making your home a better place to be, live, work, and play.
Beautiful. Let me just dig a hair deeper. How does, I talk to a bunch of waterproofers throughout the country, and I see them offering piering, egress windows, radon, mold testing, you name it. If they're in a home, they're like, hey, let's add this to our services. And you've been pretty clear that you're kind of just sticking with waterproofing, but is there any other advantages that you'd like to share that you're just exclusive on doing what you do and doing it best? Yeah,
well, the advantage of what we do is we're creating a healthy space so you can finish up and get that egress window, or if you need piering, that kind of thing. Bottom line is you got washout from the rain, so you got to address that before you try to stabilize something that's just going to get damaged again. If you're in the market and you're looking for an egress window, we have people that we refer you to, either that are part of the Home Builders Association or the Better Business Bureau, people with a good, solid reputation, not somebody that's trying to do a little bit of everything and make a dollar off it, versus giving you what you really need and getting you in the right hands for somebody whose profession is, piering or egress or that kind of thing. We don't go out there just to sell something. We go out there to give you something you're looking to accomplish that gives you quality and peace of mind.
Beautiful. Nice job. I didn't set you up for this question, but I'd like to ask this. How does your company make the world a better place? What's the greatest value that you're giving to people?
Greatest value is that we are giving you, what you want to accomplish, but the bottom line is a healthier, cleaner living environment to raise your family in. A lot of what we do nowadays has become more on the forefront is with the pandemic and COVID and everything. Air quality is key. We help you with air quality, with proper ventilation. air exchange in the home, anything sitting stagnant grows mold growth. You could have dust mites floating through the air, and if there's any kind of virus or anything like that, it'll attach to them dust mites, and then you breathe it. So we want to really make sure that we're addressing not just water, because everybody in the industry does water, but it's the effects of water that really matter, the damages caused by water and what it can do to your home.
That's different. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of companies that are just focusing on water. It sounds like you're going way deeper. Hey, let me hit you, if I could, from a totally different angle. And I like to ask this question. Is there something that you learned as a kid, either from your dad or from a mentor, that you learned and now as an adult, you see that expressed in your company as an owner?
Yeah, it's going to sound a little cheesy, but one thing is other people first. It's a cheesy question.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But bottom line is put other people first. Like Zig Ziglar says, you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Well, the bottom line is both of my parents are people who were either, kind of dabbled in entertainment or just people, they were people persons, if that's a good way to say it, and making other people smile, but they would take the shirt off their back to make somebody else happy. And that is what we try to instill for everybody. We're not here just to get a paycheck. We're not here because it's a job, quote unquote. We're here because it's an adventure. And if we can make somebody happy in that adventure, life is good.
Beautiful. That's great. And a lot of, I guess most every business leader that I've known has some kind of motivational sayings or lines that kind of recalibrate them. Do you have any motivational lines that you love?
There are a couple. Do the right thing when nobody's watching. I think that's real important. Having the background that I have, being on the Better Business Bureau board and working with, I'm also on the board for the home builders, and it is key to make sure that you do the right thing. And I've learned the better I get at doing the right thing when nobody's watching, the more I get out of it, the more our company gets out of it, and my people learn from it. And it really makes a big difference. So I'd say, if I had to pick one, it would be do the right thing even when nobody's watching.
Beautiful. Nice. I've noticed that the core values of the owner often gets expressed throughout the company. And I'm guessing that all your employees are kind of held to that same standard of like, hey, what's the right thing? So that's great. I've seen a ton of videos on your website. I know you do some branding. You've won the Torch Award for the Better Business Bureau, first place a couple of years. You've been a runner-up for more than that. Can you talk a little bit about how branding has worked for you with lead generation and with sales and any other impact it might have had on your company?
Okay, well, yeah, for me, branding is everything. Having the right people doing your marketing is very important. Some things, I come from a production standpoint where I dug ditches. Okay. When my brother and I, Dave, and I got the company, we had to learn the other end of the business and how to generate leads. And the first thing is have a good reputation. The second thing is make sure that you're branding everywhere you can, because the more that name's out there, people become familiar. So for us, how it helps as far as the branding is advertise. SEO is very important. That's why we go with you at Rainmaker. We like to make sure that our name is everywhere, but also our reputation. And nowadays, this has changed over the years, but everybody is online now. So reviews are key. I mean, reply to your reviews. Make sure that, you encourage your customers, happy or not happy, go on and review, because we can learn that as for training. If there's an issue, we can modify what we're doing. And it's gotten to a point where my people are excited and they'll tell their customer before they're even done with the job, keep an eye on me. When you're done, I'm asking you for a review. And it just works wonders for us. And then I'll put those on TV or, on the radio or wherever it needs to be, just to make sure everybody knows we're transparent and we're part of making West Michigan the most trustworthy marketplace in America. It means a lot to us to have happy homeowners, so we keep on it.
Nice, very good. Hey, can you say anything about customer reviews? How important are they to you, and any kind of comments that you have with customer reviews?
They're bar none the most important thing that we work with, that we have is our reviews, because that's not us talking about, hey, we're great, call us. That's our homeowners that have actually had work done saying, hey, this company is a stand-up company. They follow through on their promises. I would say I encourage the reviews, but also make sure you reply to those reviews immediately. As soon as you know you have one, get on it, and reply personal, because these customers, and especially if they did it right after the job, hey, I was just there to look at this job, and so-and-so had, this kind of car, and we talked about it, or they had a little child, a 3-year-old that was playing with this or that. Put it in your review. Say, hey, thank you for your review, and I hope little Susie's doing okay, or it just makes people feel good, and in turn, they're going to love you, and they're going to tell everybody about you and how you really actually cared about them as a person and not their wallet.
For sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, I in podcasts, I always say, I should have told you this, not looking for shout outs, just want to be educational to people. Can you talk about any kind of lead sources? Maybe, what are some of your favorite lead sources, or what works better, or maybe even in the wintertime, when there's not a great demand, when we don't have the heavy rains, what works for you, what doesn't work?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, there are a few different, what I would call favorites. Anything that generates business is a good lead. So, I'll say Rainmaker, and I'm not just, stroking you here, but it's key. Like this time of year, January, February, there's no rain, everything's frozen. So it's hard to generate a lead by traditional ways. So what we do online really matters. And that's really, I would say, this time of year, 90% of our lead flow comes from what Rainmaker does for us. Online, our SEO, our social media, AdWords, that AdWords campaign. I mean, everything combined is how we get through the winter, but it's also 30 to 40% of my business throughout the year, which is huge. I mean, we're talking, on an average year right now, I'm doing 1.5 million out of just what Rainmaker produces for me. So I'd have to say that's my favorite. I love TV. I love doing TV. I love doing, some mailers, a little bit of radio. I think you have to have a huge marketing mix, but the bottom line is you have to have a good marketing company that works your online reputation, your online social media, that kind of thing. Because I love to play on social media, but I'm no expert, and I don't know what's working, what's not working, unless I actually get the calls, and I only get the calls when you guys do it for me. So it's a good thing.
Oh, thanks. Good to hear it's working for you. Hey, I heard this story years ago, and over time stories change. And so this is what I remember. You were running television ads, and you had answered the phone and booked the lead and ran the lead, and you got to the guy's house, and he said, hey, wow, you're the guy on television. That's amazing that you're here. Can I get your autograph? And then you ended up selling it. Is that partially true? Did that really happen?
That still happens a lot. Actually, I don't go out and run the leads anymore. I used to run with the reps. I've never been the one to run it, solo, but my people that I've had here, they've been here 25, 30 plus years. And ever since the beginning, they would the same thing, because I was here in the office, and a lot of times I'll talk to them when they call in. They're like, hey, I saw this guy on TV. I'm like, was he good looking? Because I know it was me. And the answer was never yes. But, in any case, they recognized me, and we could have a little dialogue. And it makes people familiar with who they're working with. You definitely don't want, and my opinion is, don't get somebody that's going to do it, all the talking for you on TV, and then they want to know where that guy is, and he don't exist because he's some actor. My opinion. Keep it personal. we're a small business, but we do big business, throughout the year. And, to me, I say keep it personal. People love it when you know something about their life. So make sure you document that. Hey, they call in and you hear a child in the background crying or, whatever. That's good information to have, because you want to make sure that, you kind of match up the person to go out and see them that best fits their personality. And, people like to do work with people like themselves. So that's important to us.
Yep. Hey, and you've been successful for a long time, many years. You continue to grow. Is there anything that you would attribute that success to?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Nothing to do with Rainmaker or anything, but what? No doubt you've run into stumbling blocks, or how do you guys continue to persevere and get better and better as you go forward?
You got to roll with the changes and the economy, the people, how they do business, constantly changing. And if you're afraid of change and you can't adapt to something that changes, you're going to be in trouble. But I think, for me, if I had to give somebody, a piece of advice, I would probably say, like I mentioned earlier, keep it personal and take ownership in it. If you have an issue with a customer and they're upset about something, don't pass it off to, three guys, at the bottom of the food chain. Deal with it, Somebody who knows they got through to the owner for concern, or, the upper management or general manager, they know that somebody's paying attention. Always give them an ear and always do your best to listen, summarize what they have a concern with, and reflect, and then offer the best alternative that's going to make everybody happy. And, that's really helped me the most along the way, is keep it personal, keep it it's professional business, but it's also, you got to keep it personal. Don't let it get cold. That's my opinion.
Love it. I feel like you just shared about 5 or 10 really good nuggets of wisdom in there. I love just take responsibility. Don't pass the buck. You have a hot issue, go out there and meet the customer face to face. That's huge. Do the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any last words of advice or tips for any waterproofer that's maybe not as far along as you are?
Yeah, basically everything I said is the best advice I can give, because that's who I am. That's how I do business. That's how our company does. But follow up with a customer. Make sure, even if they're happy, follow up with them. If they're not happy, immediately follow up with them and try to rectify things. But that's the bottom line. Keep it to where they know they have an ear, they have a voice, and they have somebody listening to it, and you really care. Because if you don't care about your customers, same thing with your employees. If you don't care about your employees, obviously, what do you think about your customers or anybody else or vendors? So I try to make sure that I follow up, make sure that I don't leave people hanging. And the biggest thing, I guess, is you make a promise, you keep it at any expense. If you don't make a promise you can't keep, the bottom line is, if you can't do it, don't say, yeah, I'm a superhero, but I can't fly, because, that's not going to work. You just make sure that you follow up on your promises and you do the right thing, even when nobody's watching.
Love it. Love it. Great stuff. Do what you say what you do. It's awesome.
Yes.
Hey, Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like you just shared a ton of great wisdom from a guy who's been super successful in the waterproofing business for a long time. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for your time and your wisdom. So thank you so much. Hope you have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Rainmaker for Contractors podcast, where basement waterproofing and foundation repair business owners and industry experts share marketing and sales information that helps you reach more customers. Please leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, and get all of our show notes at rainmakerforcontractors.com/podcast.